In this edition of FinWeek, the focus is on the power of networking. It drums the message home that while the world is getting swamped with digital, social and business networking platforms, personal interaction is still the best place for generating great, spontaneous ideas. Well, joining us on the desk today, we have Andile Khumalo, who's the founder of My Startup, and Helen Nicholson, who's the Chief Excitement Officer of the networking company. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. I'm going to start with you, Thandisizwe. So if you don't network, does that mean that your business is pretty much done for?
Probably not. But it's one of the most important ingredients that you can bring into your business to grow it. I think we're all for the idea that we need entrepreneurship and we need to encourage young people to get into businesses, to be entrepreneurs, to grow the economy and to grow South Africa and to make it a competitive nation in the world. But, you know, there's a sense that there's all these support mechanisms that are available to entrepreneurs. But there's one important thing that so far an entrepreneur has had to do themselves and without any training or guidance, and that's going out there and getting clients. Now, it's not the easiest thing to do. You get into a room, there's guys with black ties and there's big guys and tall guys with big cars, and you're this small guy, you have to introduce yourself, you have to introduce your business, you don't know how to do it, where to start. You have a business card, should you just give it to them and say, hi, my name is Thandisizwe, here's my business card, give me a call. Yeah. You know, so we felt that we needed to ensure that entrepreneurs understand that networking is a value adder into your business. It's not only a social gathering that it has made out to be known as over the years. I mean, I've attended many networking functions, and trust me, what I've enjoyed is the free beer and an exchange of business cards at the bar, and that's it. Trust me, after that, I don't, you know, you think to yourself, oh my gosh, who was this? And you're like, you know what, just put it there until we find some use for it. So we're trying to now bring it all together and send a message that networking can be used to effectively grow your business, to effectively grow yourself. You know, you have your own personal brand before you have your business. So it's a matter of how do you bring the two together to grow.
I think the point that Thandisizwe just made is that's important. In the last 10 years, we've seen the phenomenon of the personal brand, and whether you're a CEO of a listed company or you're a freelancer, your personal brand has become quite important. And I think for that, networking is critical to grow your personal brand.
Helen, let's bring you into our conversation. Chief Excitement Officer, maybe you can offer us some words of advice or some tips. You know, as Thandisizwe was saying, you walk in, you don't know what to do. What are the do's and don'ts when it comes to how you conduct yourself at a networking function?
I think there's a couple of points, but when you walk into a room, I think to be authentic is key. Don't try and fake it till you make it. Be who you are. If you're an introvert, be the best introvert that you can be. Then that means connecting with one person meaningfully. You don't have to run around the room kind of air kissing people, swapping business cards, because people have that view of that's what a good networker looks like, which is not necessarily the case. So I always say to people, look for groups of 3 to break into conversations, because when you break into groups of 2, then you're often interrupting them. So you listen to, so you stand next to groups of 3, you overhear what they're chatting about, and it is important because if you've got nothing in common with them, it's pointless to break into the conversation. And then you kind of make your move. But bearing in mind there's a difference between networking and stalking as well. But so when you make your move, then and small talk is an art. And I always say small talk leads to big talk, and you've actually got to get good at it. And the more you read, the more diverse. I always say read Sunday newspapers, etc. that you are not the demographic for, because that enriches the quality of your conversation.
Are you ever allowed to skip the small talk though? Because for some people that can be devastatingly boring.
I think it's the ritual in which we engage in as human beings, and I think if you don't do it, immediately kind of you look too aggressive. And as South Africans, our culture is quite reserved from a network. If you compare us to Americans, for example.
Andile, can you come in and chip in? I saw you smiling away that there's a difference between talking and stalking. I mean, what do you have to say when it comes to...
particularly like the comment about the air kisses. I think that was no, I agree 100%. I think that this networking thing is a trick. You know, it is a big trick, and it's a balance. You know, some people come to networking functions without a real objective. And I think perhaps one of the most important things is there are so many opportunities to network. And as an entrepreneur, you're typically busy. You don't have too much time in your hands. You can't make every single one. You know, what works for me is that I pick the ones that I want to go to, and I kind of go there with an objective of who do I want to meet and why is it that I want to meet them. So you're right, sometimes people can be overbearing. I often get that, and no matter how much you try and coach somebody, if they're too abrasive, too loud, they want to hog you for the whole night. You're trying to see another guy you want to talk to, but this guy's here. So all of that is very uncomfortable space. I think that if you're clear about what you're trying to achieve going into a function, and try and strike the balance. Don't be too quiet and timid, but also don't be the guy who just keeps talking and never stops.
I think what came through strongly from this article is the art of listening, which is an essential skill for any business person. And I think it's one we could all get a little bit better at in any situation.
Well, Anile, you work with a lot of entrepreneurs in your organization, My Startup.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine that you go through various lessons as to how these guys are handling networking and how these guys are trying to grasp the concept of networking. What are some of those lessons, and how do you ensure that you are able to plug in those gaps?
No, 100%. I think the point that you made earlier around the culture, I often find that there's a big culture issue. So a young entrepreneur will go to a function and maybe Adrian Gore is there. And he thinks, man, this is the guy who founded Discovery, and he's got a business, maybe in the insurance business, and maybe he just wants advice. He doesn't really want a meeting with him. He's not trying to stalk him. It's just seen as maybe disrespectful to go up and say, hi, my name is Andile. I would like to ask you something. So you kind of think, no, these guys are too big. He's a high roller. Who am I to even go and talk to him? So there's a big culture thing that
So is that how you would approach someone like Adrian Gore? You wouldn't approach him when he's out running around Rosebank in his tackies and, is there a time and a place for networking, or can you do it anyway?
I think events allow you that, because remember, going to a social function, we are all there to socialize. Otherwise, this person shouldn't be here in the first place. If he's not prepared to talk to people that are here, he shouldn't have come. If he's running on the road or he's with his family in a restaurant, you gotta respect that, right? He's there in the restaurant, not trying to talk to you. So the functions definitely provide an opportunity, but specifically on entrepreneurs, I see that gap between I'm a small guy, there's a big guy. And then they all go and huddle on their own. And they say, oh man, did you see Adrian Gore in there? And that confidence and that almost acceptability that I can go and say hi is perhaps a little bit of a culture thing we got to get through.
I also think it comes down to research. I remember coaching a group of young black women entrepreneurs, and one of them wanted to approach Patrice Motsepe. And I said to him, it's about her doing his homework or doing your homework on him, finding out what his hot buttons are. So when you go and speak to him, you don't just come in cold. You know what projects he's involved in, so you know how your business can kind of fit in. Because then it looks like you've actually, you've approached this strategically versus kind of spray and pray networking.
I've had my fair share of miss and hits when it comes to starting a business and going out there networking. And I used to be so excited about exchanging a business card. I'd come home and think, damn, I've done it. I've got this guy's business card, and I used to think that's enough. But is it? What is it that you can take beyond that?
I'll tell you. I don't know if you guys remember when cell phones, I shouldn't say came out, but when it was not popular for an important person to give out their cell phone numbers. You remember that? So you get a card which is an address and a landline and an email, which basically meant don't call me my cell phone. I think more and more now, business people give up their cell phone numbers. But now you're sitting with the responsibility of calling the guy on his cell phone, because you already know that's a little bit of a personal thing to do. So the business card thing, yes, it's nice to have the details. What I often find works is think through what problem of his can you help him solve?